has operated really for the first time this week since the Fright Fest of 2011. That is correct. Yeah, I've got my dates right. Fright Fest of 2011 was when the East River Crawler last operated before this year. And when the maintenance rehab process over the course between the 11 season and the 12 season, when we got in it, just took it apart, we just realized it needed a lot of work. And we needed a complete rehab of the ride. Not from a safety standpoint, but from a performance standpoint, more than anything. And so when we got in there, it needed new motor, it needed new chassis, it needed a lot of different things that we needed to put together for it to run. And it literally took us a year and a half to order those parts, to get them in, to begin the process, to get it rehabbed. We had hoped to have it ready earlier in this season than we had it ready, but it just took us a little bit longer to get it ready and ready to go. So good news is it's done. It should be running for as long as it can run now. And it's a great ride. Our guests really missed it in our 11. We actually ran an old flat ride that a number of our younger guests really liked, the Buzzy Bees there in its place last year. And Buzzy Bees may even be making a comeback one day soon. We'll see. So, what else? Anybody? Yes, ma'am. I don't think so. It's a lobster ride. If you guys don't know the East River Crawler, it's a generic lobster ride, and I don't think it was. I think before Batman went in, and that became a little Gotham area right there, I think it had another name. And Katie, what was it? Was it the Lobster? Was it simple as the Lobster? It may have been. That was before my time, so I'm not quite sure. But I think you're right. I think it used to be called something else. I think you may be right. Our maintenance director, Gary Pullman, still calls it Lobster, so that's probably right. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about any of the parts that might be running some of their rides backwards?
Yeah, the question was, can you talk to any of our parks who may be running some of their rides backwards? I think that is going to be in the plan of some of our parks. It's been a very successful strategy for his last. If you don't know, tomorrow is the last day to ride Batman the Ride backwards here at Six Flags Great America. It has been very successful. Our guests have loved it, and we've gotten very good response from it. We turned the Eagle around early. We turned the Viper around early this year because we didn't want to have two rides down. It's going to take us a couple of days to flip Batman back around, so it'll be down probably Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday this week, depending on how long it takes maintenance to do that. So we didn't want both of them down. It was easy to turn Viper around, so we wasn't down very long.
I appreciate you doing it for us.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I'm glad you guys got a chance today, especially you guys from out of town, to ride it backwards. It's a very unique experience, and I think our guests have really liked it. To answer your question, I can't make those decisions for those other parks, though I will tell you a lot of my fellow park presidents have been calling me. We've been looking at the research very closely about what our guests have told us about the experience. I talked to a lot of guests and said, what do you think? And the response has been very, very positive from Batman now, and then Viper has gotten a lot of positive response as well. Though I will say, this is very grandfather research from talking to a lot of our guests. A lot of our guests think the surprises of the dips and ducking your head and all of those things on Viper are part of that experience. And so some of our guests have said, no, I like it going forwards better. So I think it's been a much more mixed response on Viper than it has been on Batman. That's just be candid. So who else? Yes, sir. Yeah. We didn't look at that whole break. We haven't talked about it much the last couple of years. The first 3 or 4 years, I think it ran. I can't remember when the whole break came off. I think it's been since I have been back to the park, so sometime since 2006, maybe 7 or 8. V2, the whole break, when it goes up in that second tower, there used to be a whole break that would hold it, and then would come down. Haven't talked about it much and haven't thought about it much, but it's something we should look into and see what it would take to bring it back. So. No, it definitely was an overall maintenance requirement to check that, and the amount of time we had to put in, it was part of it. But I think it does add to the experience of the ride. Maybe we can look into doing that again sometime. So, what else? Anyone? Yes, sir.
So,
I'll get you next.
So the X-Flight, when you guys picked that, were there more to choose from, or was that like the one you guys worked on? Yeah. Like, was there more?
The question is, I'm sorry, I didn't let you finish.
Well, that was the question. Just, were there more to choose from? Was that just one that you guys looked at out of like maybe a handful and then said that's the one we want there?
Yeah. The question was, when we put X-Flight in, when we chose that, we made the decision to build X-Flight and put it in the park. Were there other options? Were there other things that we looked at and as possibilities? to do it? And the answer is yes. I mean, anytime we put a ride, anytime we do anything, even when we don't do it, we're looking at a gamut of different things. I mean, we are very active with all of our ride manufacturers out there, you know, whether it's Element or Mach or B&M or you know, Premier, and you can see a number of our parks around the system have worked with all of those ride manufacturers in some form or another over the last 5 years or so. We look at all of our options. This park has a very long and unique history with B&M. As you know, we probably have as many B&Ms, if not more, of any other park in the country, and they have proven to be a testing ground here at Six Flags Greater Mere. We have Batman's the first B&M SLC. Iron Wolf was the first B&M coaster, period. You know, the first Hyper Twister that they put in was Raging Bull. Superman, I believe, was a flying coaster somewhere else before it was here, but a lot of the B&M product that's here was unique. And we have a great relationship with Walter and the whole B&M company. And when we were exploring options and opportunities, they had just built the ride in Gardaland in Italy. I went over, saw it, rode it, really enjoyed it as it was opening up over there. It's a very different ride over there. It's very much shorter, not as big of a lift hill, a little bit slower. It's much more of a family park than a thrill park in Gardaland. But when I went over and rode it, I loved it. We talked about it. Knew that the quality that B&M rides bring, and it was just a really good fit and a really good choice for us. It fit that area well. Again, B&M came in, designed it to fit that area, and I think it is the most visual ride we have in the park. I mean, it's wide open. You can see it from the food court, and from the midway, you get a great view of the experience. And then our theming department went to work on it and did the fly-throughs and some of the other elements that you see on the ride that have really made it a very unique experience. And I still think it's one of the best rides in the park. It's as smooth as any roller coaster I've ever been on, and I think it's a terrific experience. It looks a lot slower from the ground from when you get on it. I think that first experience of going over that lift hill and immediately becoming inverted is tremendous. I think it's a great ride. What else? Oh yes. There are height limitations in place. Is there a chance? You bet. Absolutely. The height limitations from the Village of Gurnee is every time we exceed 125 feet, we have to get a zoning variance from the Village of Gurnee. It was built in the original charter of the park back in 1976, and that's still the case. So when we build anything, every time, if we have one ride that goes over 125 feet at multiple times, we have to receive zoning variances for that. Now the good news is the Village of Gurnee, we have a great relationship and they've been very cooperative with us. I don't foresee any time where they tell us no, but we're very sensitive to that, and we're very sensitive to our neighbors. We have great neighbors. We operate at a tremendous place, and so we are very sensitive to those regulations. There is, with FAA regulations, also a height limitation. I believe it is 320, 350. I think it's 320 or 350. The flagpoles on top of Skytrek Tower, that's the height. It's the highest we can possibly go. There's no variances or limitations. For instance, we couldn't put in the skyscraper that Six Flags Over Texas put in this year. As an example, we simply cannot exceed. We are in the flight pattern of Waukegan Airport, and the FAA would not allow us to put anything over it. I believe it is 320 or 340 feet. So that's our limit. Yeah, way back there. Yeah, it's not going to be the case here because of where we're located. We're truly right in the pattern. It's not going to happen here. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, I think that the question was, could possibly the FAA and at times in other places have given those variances? It's been explored here in the past, and we haven't had any success. So it really depends on where you are. I know Six Flags Over Texas, for instance, had to get an FAA variance for their skyscraper. They're close enough to DFW Airport, and they were able to achieve that. It really is just based on where you are. And I know we used to have issues at Kentucky Kingdom as well, down in Louisville, because they literally, when when their big wooden coaster, which was Twisted Sisters for a while, and then became something else. I can't remember what it's called. You'd almost seem like those UPS planes were landing on the tracks of that ride. So it's so close to the airport. Down there, pretty cool. Who else? Anyone? Yes. The question is, have we given any thought of giving the American Eagle Rocky Mountain conversion, a topper track of some kind, a hybrid coaster, if you will, the way we did Rattler and Texas Giant? And the answer is yes. And are the plans to do that right now? No. Yes. Who else? Yes.
When does the park plan on making an announcement for next year's attraction? And it is something maybe that we would be interested in, or?
I hope you're interested in it.
Well,
We plan on doing an announcement right around Labor Day. We'll make an announcement of what's coming for next year. And I'm excited about it. We are just right now finalizing our plans. We're not for sure finalized yet, but just right about to finalize some plans, and I think you'll be very happy. Who else? Yes. I was saying, would Shockwave fit in the Iron World site? And honestly, I doubt it. That ride had a huge footprint, a massive footprint, and at the time it was built, it had more inversions of any roller coaster in the world. And I think a couple of coasters, while it was in operation, ended up passing it and became more inverted than that coaster. But it was a great coaster. It was a great coaster. That was one that went away so we could make room for Superman. That's where Superman sits right now. Yes. Yes.
Does Shockwave still exist somewhere else?
I don't think so. It definitely doesn't. It doesn't exist as an operating coaster, and I don't think it's on this property. So I'm pretty sure that the ride itself is no longer with us, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Shockwave. Yes. You come back from Fright Fest and you can see
they chopped it all
our
up after
graveyard for all 6 Flags Great America rides. It's actually pretty funny. Anyone else? Can we wrap it up?
And they had
All right. I know the main reason you're here is you want to get back out there and ride some roller coasters. So thank you so much for coming. Welcome. It's great to see you guys here again this year, and have a great time in 6 Flags Great America.